And I wanted to then return to the Bundesliga because I have seen a few Eintracht Frankfurt news aggregators suggest that Liverpool are still very keen on signing striker Hugo Ekitike. And that's an interesting one because Chelsea have obviously been credited with a strong desire to actually sign him, despite the fact they sign a million strikers. But of the names doing the rounds for that number 9 position, you've had Gyökeres, you've had Alvarez, Isak for the longest time. Do you think that maybe Ekitike's one might hold the most weight behind him? And is that one that you could actually envisage being a genuine target for the club?
He kind of feels the most Liverpool in terms of, age, profile, scoring, what he does, the way he kind of plays as well would feel like quite a good fit. But in terms of whether it's going to become anything concrete, I mean, one thing I could say definitely is that, they have watched him, they're keeping an eye on him as multiple clubs are. So that's not kind of news. And there is some degree of interest there. But whether that's going to turn into anything, it's just very, very hard to say at the moment. I mean, I'm very interested to see what the Wirtz role is as well, by the way, because he could be the centre forward in a sense. I wonder whether false 9 is the area that they kind of seeing him operating in. I just think they're kind of set on the left wing, aren't they, without departures? That number 10 position, can you afford to take Szoboszlai's running power out of this central midfield without losing something? And also what he does in terms of coverage on the right-hand side as well with Salah. Can you afford to take him out to put someone in there he's not bad defensively, Wirtz, by any means, but he's not got that engine of Szoboszlai to cover that much ground, and you don't want him doing that. So I almost got this kind of idea that maybe Wirtz might be in that false 9 role. I mean, that's just pure speculation at the moment from me, by the way. I'm not, nobody at Liverpool will talk about the ideas for him until he's maybe signed. So it's quite hard to deduce that information at the moment. But yeah, and if they do that, did he necessarily need to sign a centre forward? And it makes me think, Nunez out the door, which is expected. Bring in Wirtz to play him in the false 9 role. Maybe you end up selling Diaz, but then it allows you then to bring in another kind of multifunctional forward, maybe a kind of, and just throwing a name out there, an Anthony Gordon type who can play left, right, central. Would link up quite nicely with a Wirtz in a false 9 role. I'm just very interested to see how all that plays out, really, because I think the two things are affecting each other. Because if there is any plan whatsoever to play Wirtz in the false 9 role, then there's just no chances there of signing an Ekitike, really. So, and he's very, very expensive. Still elements of rawness in his game as well. So, that's an interesting link to me. Definitely interest there, but whether Liverpool will move forward with it or not is, I think, quite difficult to say at the moment, actually.
That's quite interesting, actually. You mentioned about Wirtz potentially being in a false 9 role, because I was going to have a follow-up question there, which is asking you about what do you think Liverpool actually need up front? Do you think that they need that facilitator type, as Slot's talked about in the season? Do they need someone to stretch the pitch, perhaps to help get the best out of an aging Salah on the right? So I was going to ask you that, but I guess Anthony Gordon would be one to potentially stretch the pitch, as you have mentioned there too.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think, I just wonder whether they kind of want, the idea is to kind of really go back to what worked before, which was to have that Firmino type up there. And Wirtz has got a lot of, profile-wise, a lot of similarities there, really, in terms of what he's capable of doing, really. He isn't a bad defender at all, in terms of, if you put him in there, pressing from the front, really intelligent in the way he does it, his ability to link play. He has played false 9 fairly frequently for Bayer Leverkusen. He's a goal scorer, but he's also someone who can come in. And I just think Liverpool have, when I was watching them last season and the way that Slot was talking in press conferences to us about what they needed in the centre forward role, I just kept thinking Firmino. And I really do think Wirtz can do that. And the way the team would have to look to kind of put him in as a pure number 10, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. And I know you're personally a big fan of putting him off the left-hand side, and maybe, but again, in this league, you're not maybe better with a bit more pace down the side. I don't know. It's really interesting. You may be right about that in terms of playing him off the left, and that could be the idea with Diaz moving on, and then allows you to sign a centre forward, of course. But it's, yeah, I'm really fascinated, and for me, I just think anything that moves you back towards that system of kind of having the wingers coming into goal scoring positions, a facilitator in that central role. then your fullbacks with pace and really pinning down the outside, and then lock down midfield with the sobbers like McAllister, Gravenberg. It would very much work like similarly anyway to the kind of Jurgen Klopp team of old, or the best version of Jurgen Klopp's team. So really, this is one of the reasons that, never want to wish the summer away. It's a nice break, but almost very excited to see in pre-season what it looks like. So I think it's going to look very different.